I want to open our marriage." In that moment, everything became clear. This wasn't a search for freedom. It was a declaration of war. He walked away, silently. But he didn't give up. She thought he'd break. Instead, he became a shadow, cold, silent, calculating. Behind her words, surveillance. Behind her steps, evidence. Behind her smiles, cameras. She played at honesty. He played for retribution. "Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends or family. It really helps my channel a lot. Please tell me in which city or country you watched this video. I value every one of your comments. So, let's get started." The chandeliers overhead cast a dim glow, their light stretching into thin, distorted shadows across the length of the dining table. My fingers tightened around the stem of my wine glass, jaw locked in silent resistance. A decade had passed since we exchanged vows, yet the air felt thick with something unsaid, something oppressive. I saw it before anyone else did. The lipstick, bright, defiant red. A color Ariana had never worn before. She sat with poise at the opposite end of the table, her back rigid, her eyes sparking with something unreadable. Her mother, Lydia, sat beside her, watching me with that icy, judgmental stare she'd perfected. Both sides of the family were squeezed into the room, exchanging polite small talk while tension churned just beneath the surface. Ariana reached for a napkin, adjusting it with painstaking care, her movements too precise to be casual. I leaned in slightly and spoke in a low voice, barely audible over the clatter of forks and conversation. "They're already fine," I said, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Ariana let out a brittle laugh. "You wouldn't know fine if it slapped you, Ronan." Her voice was edged, the words dressed up like humor but meant to wound. It was a warning. I missed it. Lydia, always eager to twist the knife, took a long sip from her glass before saying, "Sometimes a woman needs a little change to remember who she is." Her voice was sweet, but her eyes gleamed with satisfaction. I looked from her to Ariana, whose expression mirrored her mother's. A sick feeling settled in my gut. And then she stood. Ariana gently tapped her fork against her wine glass, the clear sound cutting through the chatter. Conversations died mid-sentence, all eyes swinging toward her. She breathed in, slow and measured, and offered a smile that made my blood run cold. It wasn't loving. It was final. "I have something to say," she announced, her tone smooth, with a self-assuredness that twisted in my stomach. A chill wrapped itself around me. "I've had a realization," she continued, eyes skating right past mine. "For a long time, I've felt trapped. I've poured everything I have into this relationship." She sighed, loud, performative. "But it hasn't been enough. I've felt empty." The silence was a vacuum. I gripped the table edge, trying to ground myself as my pulse pounded. "Ariana, what are you talking about?" I asked, already fearing what I knew was coming. "I want us to open the marriage," she said. Her words exploded in the room like a bomb. Everyone froze. My mother set her knife down, her hand visibly trembling. My father choked slightly on his drink. And Lydia? She looked positively delighted. Ariana's head turned toward me, her red lips curving into something that resembled a grin, but cut like glass. "You owe me this, Ronan," she said, her voice cool and sharp. "After everything I went through while you ignored me. After all the ways you let me go unseen." A wave of nausea hit. Lydia clucked her tongue and shook her head. "You hear that, Ronan? This is the result of your neglect." I could barely register it. I stared at Ariana, stunned. "You're choosing now to say this? On our anniversary? With everyone here?" She didn't blink. "You stopped hearing me a long time ago." My hands whitened against the wood. Melanie, Ariana's sister, let out a low, amused laugh. "Well, this dinner just got interesting." I stood abruptly, my chair scraping back with a screech that sliced through the tension. "So that's it? You wanted a spectacle? You've got it," I said, my voice steady but hollow. Then I turned and walked out. But the second the night air touched my skin, something cracked open inside me. This wasn't over. If she wanted open, I'd show her just how wide open things could get. She had no idea what kind of fire she'd lit. I drove aimlessly through the city, rage and shame clashing in my chest like cymbals. The cruelty of what she'd done clawed at me, 10 years, discarded like trash in front of everyone who mattered to us. This wasn't about growth or honesty. It was about breaking things. She wanted to destroy me, to wear her new liberation like some twisted crown. She wanted to see me crushed, but she underestimated me. I pulled into a deserted parking lot and sat in the silence, hands locked on the steering wheel until they throbbed. My breathing was uneven, my thoughts spinning like buzzsaws. Lydia. She'd been feeding Ariana poison for years, convincing her she deserved better, whispering that I was the problem. And Ariana had listened. I should have left the moment things started shifting. The sudden new clothes, the mysterious late returns, the growing coldness between us at night. I had stayed far too long. That ends now. I took out my phone, flipped through my contacts, and pressed call. It rang once, twice. Malcolm here. My attorney, and one of the few friends I still trusted. I'm done, I said, each word landing like steel. A beat of silence. Damn, Ronan. What happened? I stared at the black skyline, jaw tight. She told me she wants an open marriage, at our anniversary dinner, with everyone watching. Malcolm exhaled hard. Christ, that's cold. She didn't just blindside me, I said. She set me up to watch her light the match. Her mother, God help me, behaved like it was some twisted kind of victory. Incredible, I muttered under my breath. What's on your mind? Mitchell asked. I want out, I said, my voice steely and unshaken. And I want the divorce processed immediately. A pause lingered on the line. You sure you don't want to sit with it a bit? Let the emotions cool? There's nothing left to cool, I shot back. She made her decision. Now I'm making mine. Mitchell exhaled, long and slow. All right, I'll start drawing up the papers. I hung up and shoved the phone deep into my coat pocket. My heartbeat pounded like war drums, rage mixed with a darker, more calculated satisfaction. She thought I'd roll over, that I'd accept her betrayal without a fight. She had no idea what was coming. By the next morning, that wild fury had solidified into something sharper. Focus. I wasn't just walking away. I was going to make her feel every step of it. I needed to know the truth. Was there already someone else? I wasn't foolish enough to think people suddenly ask for open marriages out of nowhere. That kind of revelation doesn't fall from the sky. She had someone waiting in the shadows. So I did what any man in my position would do. I hired a private investigator. Name was Caleb. Cold, precise, and exactly the kind of professional you call when you want results, not sympathy. Once I laid it all out for him, he gave me a curt nod. You're not wrong, he said. They don't flip the script like that unless someone new's already in the picture. My jaw tightened. Find him. 3 days later, Caleb delivered. Ariana, entangled with another man, laughing and kissing, in our bed. The bed we shared. My vision went crimson. She'd been with him even before she floated the open marriage line. That wasn't a conversation. It was a smokescreen. She wasn't walking away clean. Not a chance. Sure, I could have marched in and raised hell, screamed, demanded answers, shattered something, maybe. But that wasn't what I wanted. I wasn't after theatrics. I wanted justice. So I stayed silent. 2 days passed before she texted me. Her message practically oozed arrogance. Hope you're cooling off. I meant what I said, Ronan. I'm not giving you a divorce. Be a man and live with it. I almost laughed out loud. Live with it? I typed back. Maybe you're right. I overreacted. Let's talk tonight. She took the bait. That night, I walked through the door wearing a calm, easy smile. Ariana was lounging on the couch, glass of wine in hand, looking every bit the smug queen in her little kingdom. And right on cue, Lydia was there too, because where else would the serpent be, if not coiled next to her daughter? Well, Ariana said, practically glowing with self-satisfaction, I hope you've come around. I set my keys down and tilted my head. You know, Ariana, you're right. Maybe I have been too closed-minded. She blinked, slightly off balance. What are you saying? You wanted to open things up, didn't you? I said, as I took a seat across from her, watching her confidence start to crack. All right, let's go all in. The color began draining from her face. Total honesty, I went on. If you're out meeting other guys, then it's only fair I see other women. I pulled out my phone, gave her a casual smile. I've already got a few lined up. Her lips pressed into a thin line. Lydia's eyes blazed with fury. "That's not what she meant," Lydia snapped. "Oh?" I said, feigning surprise. "I thought this was about liberation, freedom. That's what Ariana said she wanted. Well, I want that too. In fact," I said, settling comfortably into the chair, "maybe we should start inviting our new partners over. You know, to keep it transparent." Ariana's hand tightened so fiercely around her wine glass I thought it might explode. Lydia slammed a hand on the table. "You're just doing this to hurt her." I smiled. "You mean like she embarrassed me at our anniversary dinner?" Ariana's expression twisted. "This isn't—" "Oh, but it is," I interrupted. "You opened the door, Ariana. Don't be surprised now that I'm walking through it." And then I saw it, something new flickering in her eyes. Uncertainty. Perfect. That was only the start. I didn't scream. I didn't fall apart. I played by her rules, but I played better. I stopped coming home early, stopped giving her the comfort of my attention. I didn't give her the reward of my outrage. Instead, I let her watch me rebuild. I made sure she saw me with other women, not in a desperate attempt to hurt her, but with quiet confidence, like someone who didn't need her anymore, and she absolutely hated it. She started getting home noticeably earlier than she used to. Out of nowhere, she began trying to draw my attention again. It was obvious. She was beginning to feel the loss of control. And then, everything fell apart. One night, Caleb sent over more photos. It turned out the man she'd been secretly meeting wasn't just any fling. He had a wife and family of his own. I made sure she knew every detail. And once his life collapsed, once his wife kicked him out, Ariana came back, a mess of tears and regret. I couldn't stop the grin that spread across my face. She slipped in late that night. Her face was streaked with tears, makeup smudged, desperation in her eyes. She looked at me like she was waiting for concern, expecting sympathy, hoping I'd ask what went wrong. I didn't. I stayed on the couch, scrolling through my phone like nothing had happened. "Ronan," she said, her voice unsteady. I took my time before lifting my eyes. "Yeah?" I replied, emotionless. She faltered. Her lipstick, bold red, the same shade she wore when she embarrassed me in front of both our families, was smeared across her mouth. "He dumped me," she muttered, barely loud enough to hear. I raised an eyebrow. "Who did?" She flared with frustration. "Don't act like you don't know." I shrugged casually, pretending not to understand, though I'd been the one who set the dominoes falling. "His wife found out," she said, her voice cracking. "She kicked him out. Took the kids too. She called me a homewrecker." I let out a small laugh. "That's because, Ariana, you are one." Her face twisted with rage. "You think this is a joke?" I leaned back, spreading my arms across the back of the couch. "No. I think it's comedy gold." She stepped closer, fists clenched tight. "You planned this, didn't you?" I smirked. "And if I did, angry that I outplayed you?" Her lip trembled. This wasn't supposed to end this way. I stood slowly, deliberately, until we were almost face to face. "Oh, really? How exactly was this supposed to play out, Ariana?" My tone was cold. "You thought you could string me along while sneaking around behind my back? Thought I'd sit here and just accept the humiliation?" She opened her mouth, but I kept going. "No, Ariana. That's not how this ends." I tilted my head slightly, voice bone dry. "You wanted something casual, something open? Congratulations, you got what you asked for. Too bad the only man who wanted you lost everything because of it." She was breathing hard now. "You—" I didn't give her the chance to finish. "This is just the beginning." She looked at me like she was finally seeing me for who I really was. Like the consequences of her actions had finally become real. But that window for apologies had slammed shut a long time ago. Ariana had always been too proud to admit she was wrong. So, she did what people like her always do, pretended nothing had changed. She started going out more often, wasted money she didn't have, showed off with strangers in staged photos. As for me, I made sure every escape route she might try to take was closed off. I froze our joint accounts, moved all my savings where she couldn't reach, filed for divorce, on my terms, with my timing. One evening, she came crashing through the door, slamming it shut behind her. My card got declined, she barked. I didn't even look away from my laptop. She marched over, seething. Ronan, I need access to the accounts. I finally looked up. Why? She scoffed like it was obvious. Because I need money. I gave her a slow, cutting smile. Let me guess. Motel stays for your late-night adventures? Her jaw tightened. No, for rent, for bills. I leaned back, folding my arms. You thought you'd get to keep the house? Her face drained of color. Wait, you're not serious. We're getting divorced, Ariana, I said coolly. That means we sell the house. Simple as that. I caught the flicker of fear in her eyes, but I wasn't interested in mercy. You cheated, you lied, you trashed my reputation, and now you expect me to cushion your fall? I shook my head slowly. Not a chance. Her whole body shook with fury. You're just doing this to punish me. I stepped closer, my voice dropping low. No, Ariana. I'm doing this to make sure you learn. And from that point on, the life of comfort she'd once taken for granted began to unravel. She was always skilled at putting on a perfect face, but I was better at making sure people saw what really lay beneath. With a few well-placed conversations, the truth made its way to all the right ears. Our neighbors, friends, even co-workers. It didn't take long for whispers to spread. By week's end, her boss had called her into a closed-door meeting. That evening, she came home furious, throwing her purse at the wall. I got fired, she spat. I looked up, all mock surprise. What the hell did you do? She hissed, her glare sharp as a blade. Cut the act, Ronan. I know it was you spreading rumors. I met her gaze with a slow, deliberate grin. Rumors? No, Ariana. I simply told the truth. Her fingers twitched, barely holding it together. You're tearing my life apart. I stepped in, my presence casting a long shadow. No, Ariana, that was all you're doing. She let out a shaky breath, her voice cracking. You have no soul. I tilted my head, calm and cold. Then what does that make you? She didn't answer. For once, she had no lie ready, no spin to twist reality. That was the beginning of the end for her. Her job disappeared like smoke. Her credit cards were maxed out in weeks. The stream of admirers who once circled her like moths, gone the second she had nothing left to offer. Then, one night, she showed up on my doorstep, red-eyed, broken. Ronan, please, she murmured, hands trembling. I ruined everything. I stared at her, my face unreadable. Which mistake are you referring to? Her voice cracked as she fell apart in front of me. All of them. Every single one. I was cruel, self-centered. I don't even know why. She wept. I stayed silent. She mistook it for a chance. I want to fix this. I want to fix us. I studied her with quiet detachment. You already lost me, Ariana. She reached toward me, desperate, pleading. We can try again. Wipe the slate clean. I let out a sharp, mirthless laugh. You really think I'd take you back? I slowly shook my head. You mean nothing to me now. Her face crumpled. But I love you, she whispered. I leaned in, my voice razor sharp. And I loathe you. Then I turned my back and walked away. Her downfall was far from over. Ariana was finished, jobless, crushed by debt, her social life in ashes. The men she used to toy with, nowhere to be found. Lydia, ever the rescuer, tried stepping in again. She always did. But I made sure that door stayed closed. I exposed everything, hard evidence of Lydia's involvement in Ariana's schemes, delivered straight to the neighborhood board. The kind of dirt no one forgets. Overnight, Lydia became a pariah. People stopped waving. Invitations stopped arriving. Eventually, she called me, seething. You're a monster, I smirked. I had good teachers. Then I hung up. But Ariana wasn't done yet. She came back one last time, uninvited, looking like a ghost. Hair a mess, skin pale, hands clutching her sides. I'm pregnant, she said. I stared at her for a long moment, then laughed, genuine and amused. Not a chance. She blinked, confused. What are you talking about? I stepped toward her, voice calm. I got a vasectomy after Lena, years ago. That child, not mine. Her mouth opened in shock. One more lie, exposed. She collapsed to her knees, sobbing. I don't know what to do. I crouched down, met her eyes. Figure it out, Then I shut the door. For good. Ariana completely disintegrated. She fled the wreckage of her own making. Eventually, she gave birth, but no one ever learned who the father was. Lydia followed her into exile, disappearing from everyone's memory. They never reached out again. Not that I cared. I had already won. Still, Ariana didn't vanish quietly. For weeks, she flooded my phone with texts, apologies, desperation. Please, Ronan. I was lost. I ruined everything. Don't leave me like this. I ignored them all. Then came the visits. At first, pitiful, her knocking faint, her voice hollow, begging for food, for a place to stay. Then manic, voicemails filled with crying, claiming she had no one left. But that wasn't my burden. She made her bed, let her lie in it. Even Lydia, her fiercest defender, eventually gave up. When Ariana hit bottom, her mother turned away too. Then, unexpectedly, Lydia called. "She's your wife," she snapped. "You owe her something." I let out a humorless laugh. And that was the end of it. The moment she gave herself to someone else, she ceased being mine. Lydia's voice trembled as she delivered the news. "She's pregnant." I let out a bitter laugh. Not by me. The line went quiet. Then came the soft click of the call ending. That was the last time Lydia tried to salvage what Ariana had destroyed. People act irrationally when they're trapped. And Ariana? She chose to drag me down in her spiral. She spun her version of events, whispering to anyone who'd lend an ear that I was neglectful, cold, even cruel. That I pushed her into the arms of another man. She filed claims, sued me for more money, accused me of abandoning her. But I had the truth. I had evidence, photos, messages, people who saw her parade new lovers around like I'd been disposed of long ago. The judge saw through her web. Her stories crumbled, and I didn't hide my satisfaction. Ariana left that courtroom with nothing. No money, no home, not even the sympathy she counted on. The mask she wore began to crack. She tried to act like nothing had changed, pretending she still carried that same magnetism, but reality caught up. The attention stopped. The control slipped through her fingers. In desperation, she turned to Lena, her daughter, hoping for a lifeline. But Lena had already made up her mind. "You did this to yourself," she said without emotion. "I'm not getting involved." And just like that, Ariana's final connection burned to ash. Everything around her collapsed. I bumped into her months later purely by coincidence. I was enjoying a quiet dinner out when I noticed her alone at a distant table. Her once vibrant hair looked dull. The designer outfits were gone, replaced by something cheap and tired. She no longer commanded attention. She seemed emptied out. She glanced up and saw me. For a moment, something like shame flashed across her face. She understood immediately. I had moved on. I had rebuilt everything she tried to take. She looked away quickly, unable to meet my gaze. That moment brought something back I hadn't felt in a long time. Victory. The divorce was over. I kept the house, the money, and, more importantly, my dignity. Ariana was gone from my life, and I felt weightless. I started dating again, not to replace her, but to remember that love doesn't have to feel like imprisonment, that not every woman becomes what she did, and through that, I found joy again. Then, after the chaos had long since faded, a message from her appeared. Just 4 words: "I hate you." I laughed, deleted it instantly, and moved on without hesitation. Time carried me forward. Ariana became nothing more than a shadow in my memory. It had been painful, sure, but it shaped me. Lydia disappeared from the picture. Lena remained close. And me? I had found peace. Real, enduring peace. And I never looked back. Because I achieved something Ariana never thought possible. I watched her unravel completely, and I never lifted a finger. She did every bit of it on her own. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you like this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.